Sonic Movie Show is a weekly show that you can find on a variety of podcast services. Keep up with us by following our Twitter at Sonic Movie Show. What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 51 of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that's about Sonic news, and Sonic movie news. My name is Ethan, and with me here today is Devin.
Whoa, nice cock.
Okay, that's not a quote.
It's listed. It's
from
listed.
Sonic.
It's listed under fandom. All right, this is where I pull a lot of the quotes from. It's under poop and hey guy. It says whoa, nice cock.
Wait, you're pulling these quotes from the website Fandom?
Yeah.
You realize that's like a wiki. Anyone can edit that,
I know.
right?
I think that's why it says whoa, nice cock. I thought we'd start 51 with something a little bit more raunchy.
Damn, I didn't realize this was the direction we were going. Well, thank you very much, Devin. It's a new look for us with episode 51, and I've grown as well, as you can tell, apparently. But yes, Sonic Movie Show has evolved a little bit. We have a bunch of stuff in the works that we don't want to disclose right now, but it'll be fun things that you might see over the coming months. Might be popping up, some nice stuff planned. Obviously, you can see we have a new look. Maybe you heard we have a slightly different intro, which I have not actually made yet as of time of this recording, but there will be one. You would have already listened to it. And we're also on a few new podcast services. We are on a total of 10 places, Devin.
Wow.
We're on a total of 10 places, yes. Most of which I honestly never heard about until starting to find places to put us. But you can find the show, obviously, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as Google Podcasts, which we confirmed 10 minutes ago is staying.
Not Google Play
Google
Music.
Play Music that's going away. But we're also on there. And if all that stuff is going to YouTube Music, maybe we'll be there too. But we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, as well as our good old standby YouTube. But our biggest new one is Amazon Music or the Audible app. So if any of your old parents listen to audiobooks, why don't you slip a download in there? And if you use some less known but very popular podcatchers, as the folks like to call them.
I just imagine a big net.
We're on Pocket Casts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Deezer. Which
why is that funny?
I don't know. It sounds like Vin Diesel. Maybe we'll call it Vin Deezer.
Sounds like a bad 80s metal band. Yo, dude, you listen to fucking Deezer, dog? Yeah, dude. That one song.
It sounds like Weezer, but like
maybe that's
maybe
a
French version.
Yeah,
because I think the website is French. Yeah, we're on all those places. If you actually listen to podcasts on a different service and you found us by accident, let us know, because I'd like to get us on as many places that are actually viable as possible. So, why don't we begin our big topic of today? How big is Sonic's cock? No, that's not what we're talking about, but there's another big number going around. If you think 7.5 inches is big, Devin, how about $7.5 billion? Because that's how much Microsoft paid to buy Bethesda.
Yeah, that's like when I first saw it, I was on Twitter, right, where we all are, always lurking, always breathing. I saw it, and like I saw everyone freaking out, being like, "Holy shit!" And like it was more of like a positive, "Holy shit!" Like, "Oh my god, this is crazy!" Like,
yeah, they moved to chess piece.
Gamers, yeah. And I'm just like, immediately my first thing that came to my mind was like, no, like, granted, I don't really care too much. Like, I'm not a bit, like, I played Skyrim, and that's pretty much it that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure I played some others here and there, but at the same time, though, it's just like, why, like, to me, it's like, why are we cheering for a huge company? I think they're $1 trillion net worth, Microsoft.
Microsoft is one of the wealthiest companies in the world, yeah.
Is buying another company for them, which is like maybe like a very small investment, and we're all like, yeah, Game Pass is gonna be great. Dude, I played Skyrim, even though I already own that game 3 times, and
it's probably already on Game Pass.
Yeah, it probably is. But you know what I mean. Just like, I'm not excited about this because like we've been seeing this with Sony. Like we're both Sony fanboys, I would say.
Yes, but I will call them out when they do shit wrong.
And they do
own.
yeah, they've bought
And I'm the same way with Nintendo. We did a full episode talking about how shitty Nintendo's policy is on deciding, nope, you don't get to buy Mario anymore.
Yeah, but we saw like Sony buy Insomniac, which is one that I just thought of. I'm sure they've bought other ones in the last couple years.
They've purchased a few studios in the past decade,
and
for
they're
sure.
they're not. Let's not like. I'm not just going to shit on Microsoft. I don't think we're both going to shit on Microsoft. Only like this is just a bigger issue in general. I mean, you can stem this to just capitalism in general of these big corporations.
I think that there's a difference though between buying Sucker Punch, which they did in like 2012, I think, which is a studio, or buying Insomniac, which is a studio with multiple teams, than buying Bethesda, which is a publisher that owns studios. You know what I mean? There's a difference there where it's like,
I guess,
hey, maybe Sucker Punch is, like Sucker Punch benefits from being purchased by Sony because Sucker Punch doesn't have to rely on funding from their own game sales. If they make a game, if let's say Ghost of Tsushima came out and bombed, their next game is funded regardless. You know what I mean? But if they were riding off the wave of sales to fund their next project, then they're fucked. You know what I mean?
Do you think
Bethesda is not like that.
But do you
we could talk about workers' rights in a second. But like Bethesda, on the other hand, like they don't really benefit honestly from Microsoft too much, besides like the strategic like placement and services regarding xCloud and you know what I mean, the technology. But like all of those studios are probably off in a worse position than before the Microsoft purchase. There is a difference between, Sony buying an indie studio like Pixel Opus, which made Concrete Genie last year, or them buying Insomniac, which has multiple teams. They made lots of big games. There's a difference between that and like a company like Bethesda buys things. Bethesda bought id. You know what I mean? It's like that's two different things.
I get what you're saying, but just like as someone who's, I think I would like over the last couple of years has really like looked at like American capitalism. I can't really speak for all because I don't know what it's like in other countries really, but like, yeah, like I can see what you're saying with like, this company wouldn't exist anymore because their game bombs. But if they're under Sony, it doesn't matter. I get that, but at the same time, like, is that really a good thing? Like,
well, we are talking about an industry of artists.
Yeah, like
and art and finances, capitalism doesn't gel super well in the video game industry, even more so than the film industry. It's definitely a weird crossroads between the two, where it's like the more like a game can be super well critically received, we would all want them to keep making games, but since it didn't sell very well because it's not doing FIFA numbers or whatever, Call of Duty numbers, and it dies, we don't see that as fair. But it's different than like Dyson vacuums are a lot better than Shark vacuums. Shark sucks and they die. Who cares? Because it's a vacuum. There's a difference there between art and products, but it all depends on, at the end of the day.
I don't know. Like, I just don't know if
these purchases are to make a giant corporation more money. Number one.
That's what I'm saying. That's my biggest issue. I think with it is like, yes, these studios don't go away, and like that means these people probably keep their jobs or whatnot. They keep making the art they want. I appreciate that. Like, I'm all for like artists getting paid and for what they do and all the time they put into it. But it is concerning when they have to rely on these big ass corporations to save them. Like that shouldn't be what it is. Like,
yeah.
If the game, let's say the game is great, like you said, and then but still bombs, they shouldn't be punished for that, like you said. And it's like, but now we're like almost in a way being like, but at least they're bought by Sony. Like, I don't think we should be like happy for that though. If you like on a, I guess more of a moral level, like that means that they're winning. That means that we have to rely on them to succeed. And that's where my biggest issue is with this. Is like, it's great, like for what our system is, like in the system, I think it's great. But as a system as a whole, it's a problem because it means that it's winning. Like these big corporations are winning. The people who make all the wealth are winning. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, they're the ones who are going to be the most happy. Like,
I think that we could talk about all the different facets of this purchase in a few minutes. But I will say there is a trend that we've been noticing in the past, I'd say 7 years, as we started to see live service games and, multiple ways in which to make money off of games that are either free to play or have already been purchased, whether it be season passes, battle passes, cosmetic DLC, enhancement DLC, all that kind of stuff. Because $60 is not enough for a game when it's a AAA game they're spending millions of dollars to make. There's just not enough people in the world. Not every game, yes, if there was 2 games a year, you know what I mean, just period, they will succeed and they will, and everyone will be happy when they get those. But there's the weird benefit of there are too many good games. There are too many games worth playing, worth buying, you know what I mean? Therefore, they all fail. And last year, in the middle of summer, Sony randomly tweeted out, and I know we talked about this both in private and on the show, Sony's president of PlayStation of America, Sean Layden, had left. Sony had tweeted out, we regret to announce, or whatever, Butterfly phrased it, just like he left, right? And he was on Twitter still just liking things, doing the whole keeping it backseat, let the news cycle go through. You know what I mean? Came out, and now he does respond to and talk to people on Twitter, and a lot of people in Sony, he talks to Cory Barlog, director of God of War, and presumably God of War Ragnarok. I assume he's still on there, or at least he's attached. Yeah. Maybe he said he didn't want to direct, but wanted to write, or vice versa. But
probably producer at least.
He's still there, right? And I actually saw an exchange between the two of them. It was only really a tweet each. You know what I mean? Cory said something, Sean Layden said another thing, and then Cory responded, and that was it. But I believe Sean Layden left for, regardless of many reasons. I think his vision for PlayStation was different than what a lot of the other executives want. This is besides the point. But one of the big things that he said a couple times, and I believe he even said in an interview or something, some headline somewhere pulled from him, he says that the AAA game space is not sustainable. It will not work forever. And it will implode, and it will fuck everything up. Because there's just a large... these companies, these studios, have to spend 80-hour weeks to get a game out on time. Because if a publisher doesn't have a big game every year, then their 2020 fiscal year is worse than last year. Because they just don't have a big game. You know what I mean? Because that's how the capitalism of it all works. So rush, crunch... Games they all come out broken to a degree, some better than others. They all need a day one patch. I get it. There's timings and all this. More and more games have become live services because you can keep charging for them, but therefore all games kind of have to either be that or be indie games or very small, low budget games where there's no expectations. It's either one or the other, and it's going to implode. And that leads into this too, where it's if let's pretend let's think about Sucker Punch if they weren't bought by Sony, and Sony just published, because they published the Sly Cooper games on PS2. Sony owns the franchise, but they fund a company called Sucker Punch, and they made it, right. They funded the studio to make a game for them. Infamous was the same way, right? And after Infamous 2, they bought them. They bought Sucker Punch. Let's pretend that they didn't, and they came out and they made Ghost of Tsushima, and PlayStation funded it. And let's say it bombed completely. Say Sony decides, you know what, this isn't good enough anymore, or whatever. Sucker Punch has to either convince another publisher to let them make a game of that scale with that budget, or lay off so many people so that they can keep their budgets low and make a tiny game and just slowly grow from there again. It's one or the other. It's either, it's flying too close for the sun, or a star exploding, whatever analogy you want to use. That's the way it is. So you're 100% right that this doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It's a lose. It doesn't work. Lose. I don't even want to say lose-lose, because I get at least I guess people are happy about it. But we don't really know in the inside. There might be some people who work at Bethesda who don't maybe they were oh, I love this place, and they're like, no, fuck, I don't want to work for Microsoft, because now they're funneling my paycheck. In the end, in the big scheme of things, they can make decisions. Maybe you signed up as, maybe you're a senior something manager there, you have a high up position. Now, with Microsoft, not Sony. Did I say Sony earlier? Microsoft.
No, you said Microsoft.
Microsoft might have 5 more managers now ahead of you than you did before. Now you have less leverage in the things you might want to make, and they say they're not going to be hands-off.
Or your position is redundant and they lay you off. this is not the first company Microsoft has purchased.
Yes.
This is how the game is played. Your position is redundant. You have 3,000 employees. We don't need 1,000 of them. They're gone now. Like, that's just how it works.
Yeah.
So, you're right. It's like it's...
Oh, you have a social media manager? We don't need that because we have someone at Microsoft who can do that for you now.
Now...
Bye. Like stuff like that. Like you said.
This just happened as of a couple days ago of the time of recording. And so there's only been a few statements on the matter, like maybe one from each party, maybe two from Microsoft, one from Bethesda. The idea is floating around from those statements that Bethesda will still remain autonomous and that Microsoft essentially is just making money off of it. And maybe they'll be like, yes, but also this is, only on Xbox. Or maybe this isn't, maybe this is, But at the end of the day, another company did that. When Activision bought Blizzard. And Blizzard is completely autonomous. Our company is now called Activision Blizzard as a whole. Blizzard is completely autonomous. We just basically make money off of them. And we help and support them. We work together. That's the pitch of these kinds of mergers, right? But in the past couple of years, Activision, it's been like a decade or whatever since that kind of happened, since the merger or the purchase. Activision is now starting to take more and more control, is starting to take away artistic freedom, or like, no, you can't take a few years in between releasing games. You need something every year now.
Like Overwatch.
Overwatch 2 happened because of Activision. That is not the Blizzard way. There would not be an Overwatch 2, you know what I mean?
That's all. I remember when that news came out there, Overwatch 2 was coming. I'm like, why? Just add more characters to the game, or just flesh out.
And they still are. The only difference, I think, is that there is like a single player and story stuff in Overwatch 2. And maybe it looks better, I don't know. But like, it's the only reason why is because Activision wants a $60 box to sell. Activision struggled to have Destiny be supported and struggled to actually like Destiny because they wanted a Destiny $60 game to sell every year. Or at least every 2 years. And Bungie didn't want to do that. They wanted to make World of Warcraft. Or like, okay, yes, there are $60 expansions or $50 every year, but they wanted, this just one world. Like, if like Destiny 2 only happened because Activision wanted that. So Microsoft is not going to be any different.
And how it'll start is they'll be like, yeah, we'll be hands off, because I think they said that. They're like, Phil Spencer said that, like, oh yeah, we're gonna be hands off. They're gonna be their own thing. We're just gonna be there for like more like financial support, like you said, and to obviously make money off of them. But that's not. I can guarantee that's not gonna happen. What they're gonna do is, we need a new manager from Microsoft to join this team. Oh, okay, let's have
Pete Hines. He's the vice president of marketing. He's the one that always pops up for their showcases. I bet his job is kind of redundant now. But we have a position over here. Pete Hines, you work for Bethesda, it would still be in the Xbox field, but like you work over here now with just Microsoft marketing in general.
And then like, if they're working on something right now, let's say, like I said, like maybe like you're not super up there, but you have a decent position there, and you're like, oh yeah, I have this big plan for this game, this new IP or something, and then they're gonna, maybe someone from Microsoft comes and is like, no, we need you to make a new Fallout.
Because here's the thing. I'm going to list off, in case nobody knows, the Bethesda is a company, a publisher owned by a parent company called ZeniMax, which is what Xbox purchased. But Bethesda is like the publisher name. Bethesda owns, obviously, the Bethesda Game Studios, our boy Todd Howard, or Todd Fallout 76 Howard. They own id Software, which they purchased, like I mentioned earlier, just Doom. They owned Tango Gameworks, which is a company, or which is a studio led by Resident Evil creator Shinji Mikami. He will fucking leave. I guarantee it. He's going to be like, I don't want to be a part of Microsoft. I didn't want to be a part of Capcom. Bethesda offered me like a way of doing what I do without the control of fucking Capcom. Microsoft is not going to be any better than Capcom. I guarantee he will leave. They own Arcane, which makes some of my favorite games from the past. They made Prey, a game that I know you played.
They made Batman, right?
Nope, that's Rocksteady.
Why am I thinking Batman? I don't know why that came to my...
Arcane made Dishonored.
Arkham, that's what I'm thinking. Thinking about Arcane.
Yes. But their most recent game was Prey, and they're making that new game Deathloop. Yeah. And they also own, obviously, ZeniMax Online makes The Elder Scrolls Online. which is their MMO, right? And there's a few other like I don't know if they're asset farm companies, but like there's a few other companies a part of the Bethesda name that like kind of help porting and publishing and all that kind of stuff. So Bethesda owns all of these. Oh, Machine Games is the other one. They make the Wolfenstein games. Guarantee, Shinji Mikami will leave Tango Gameworks. Tango Gameworks made The Evil Within, basically a horror game. They have a new game coming out called Ghostwire Tokyo, which has a timed exclusivity with PlayStation 5, which will still work. Guarantee that game won't sell very well. Their next pitch won't be exciting because these studios still have to pitch to higher ups like, hey, we want to make this, right?
Yeah.
And then it gets greenlit, right? It's not like Bethesda has no idea what they make until a trailer comes out, right? They have to be pitched to the higher ups. They're going to pitch their next game something that they've always wanted to make. We've always wanted to make this game. It's
That's what I'm saying, like a new IP or something.
Forever Wars or whatever, something crazy. And Microsoft now in charge, because them guarantee there's someone sitting on that board too, will be like, no, but actually we need someone to make a Halloween spin-off of Gears of War. Make that. That's how it works. That's how it's going to work. Machine Games will probably still make Wolfenstein, but Arcane has never really made a lot of money off their games. Prey did not sell well. Dishonored series is on hiatus because those games did not sell well. But they make Bioshocky type of games. You know what I mean? Deathloop probably won't sell all that well. That's a portfolio. That's a type of game that Microsoft doesn't have. We want to expand the Halo universe. Mm-hmm. Make one of those. That's just how it's going to work. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to leave. When it's not like, believe it or not, Devin, these companies make these decisions.
Whoa.
Yeah. And the workers don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
And they don't care. How many of these people are like, wait a second. Oh, but I wanted to do this and this, like you were saying. But even more of like the director of Doom Eternal has a Doom 3 in mind. And now all of a sudden all this stuff is changing. There's nothing keeping him there. None of these people are actually contracted and forced to work for X amount of years. Maybe that happens. That would be rare. So he leaves. So some of these people leave.
But they're still going to make a Doom 3 or something with a whole new team.
But, like, you lost a big name, and those people will go somewhere else. Like, yes, they did buy IP. They did buy Doom. They own Doom. But the talent that made it is almost as important. Like I said, Shinji Mikami, I guarantee it will leave after Ghostwire Tokyo. Tango Gameworks is basically nothing now. You know what I mean? Like, the whole reason why that studio existed is because they wanted to give him a studio. If he leaves, you now have like a useless studio name. You know what I mean? Like, and then maybe they take all those people and they just put them in one of their other studios that they bought. They bought like 20 of them in the past couple of years.
But you say it's useless, but look at Star Wars. Disney came in. I know it's not the exact same thing because it's not like one person always works on Star Wars. I mean, I guess you can say George Lucas, but even he's stepped away during the prequels or whatnot for the most part. I just think of that as an example. Like, Doom's always going to sell. It's fucking Doom, and it doesn't matter who makes it. Yeah, it can be bad, but it's going to sell. And that's all that matters to them. They just want that money,
But I think, though, that Doom, Fallout, and the Elder Scrolls are the only things from Bethesda that did sell. Wolfenstein did not sell well.
True.
You would think Wolfenstein would sell well. Wolfenstein 2 did not sell well. The other games I mentioned did not sell well. And I do think that Disney bought Star Wars to make money off of Star Wars. I believe, is my interpretation, Microsoft bought Bethesda to make all those things enhance Microsoft and the Xbox brand. Disney doesn't necessarily care that people associate Star Wars with Disney or have any idea because Star Wars is Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, yes, Doom could to a smaller degree be that way. Like, pretend that they bought Halo instead. Like, Halo wasn't theirs and they bought Halo. You know what I mean? Like, yes, they want to make money off the backs of Halo, but, like, they really want people to know that the next Elder Scrolls is fucking made by Microsoft. This is a Microsoft game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I think it's a little bit different. But you are right. This is a giant major purchase for the sake of quadrupling the money that they spent within the next 5 years.
Yeah, they did the math. They're like, okay, $7.5 billion. if we can even like lowball it, let's say we get over the next 5 years, 15 billion, it's worth it. They don't care what the human cost is of that. They don't care what the creative cost is of that.
They will let go all these people because, Devin, all of these games, every Bethesda game that is available on Xbox right now, well, it hasn't been confirmed, they will be on Game Pass if they're not already.
Yeah,
and any new one will be on Game Pass. That $15 a month deal is now 20 times better. And I'm not going to lie to you, Devin, within the horror of realizing what this means for the industry, eventually there'll be like 5 companies that own everything, Sorry, your health insurance won't work because you don't have Amazon Prime. You know what I mean? Or you don't have a Tesla.
If it
I'm
comes
sorry.
to that, dude, I'm like, we need
you
to get
can't
out.
enter this town because you don't drive a Tesla. It's going to be shit like that. But like, my thought was like, holy shit, no. I might actually buy an Xbox now. Like, that was my thinking of like, not right away.
Yeah,
but like,
I've convinced myself.
If I can get all of these Bethesda games for free, because that's how people look at subscriptions. It's like, oh, it's a free thing with my subscription. Like, no, you're spending what's 15 times 12? That amount of money a year to play Fallout. You know what I mean? Like, but like, still, like, yes, after Deathloop, the next Arcane game is going to be free with Game Pass. It's going to be included with Game Pass. It's going to be awesome. And Starfield will be out. That's the next Bethesda Game Studios game. That's Todd Howard's next game. It's going to be on Game Pass. Like, that is a great deal.
That's what I'm saying.
That got me to thinking about buying an Xbox.
Like I said, I'm already buying an Xbox because of that deal, because I haven't touched any Halo games. So like that $15 is worth a lot more than someone, let's say.
I already have Game Pass for PC and I barely use it, but I think it's a great deal.
That's what I'm saying is like, there's people out there who like always play Xbox, have played all the Halo games, all the Gears of War games, and they're like, yeah, it's a great deal. So like the fact for someone like me who's never touched any of the Halo games, Gears of War, I'm like, oh hell yeah, this is a no-brainer.
And yeah, so like the subscription service, it does. A subscription service like Netflix, which is what this wants to be, gains and loses stuff all the time. The only thing it doesn't lose is the stuff that they made themselves. All the Netflix shows never leave Netflix because they own them, right? All of Xbox's games, which they now own like 24, I think Phil Spencer said, 24 studios now. Every game they makes Game Pass a better deal. Because yes, even though maybe Call of Duty Ghosts disappears off of Game Pass this month, there will always be more and more Microsoft games to just make the deal better and better. And eventually, yeah, it'll go up to $20 a month for Game Pass Ultimate, and we'll all be like, but it's a great deal. I think it's still worth it. We'll all say this type of stuff because
maybe
it'll probably
every time
be true.
You switch games, you have to watch a 2-minute ad or something stupid like that.
Weird, yeah. But it'll do that.
Between Call of Duty matches, the free one on the Game Pass, you have to watch a 1-minute ad between matches.
I would much rather Elon Musk put the chip in my brain and just send the stupid Rick Roll video to my brain, because that's what he wants to do. He's out in his fucking castle laughing. Oh, I pulled an epic one
His
today.
castle's floating, by the way. Of course,
Of course it is. But it's like floating 3 inches off the ground. But like that's like it's amazing technology.
Dramatic,
One thing I will say, though, that I think does not bode well for Bethesda either and the studios making the games, they want to make Game Pass a huge success. Game Pass, in April of this year, they announced had 10 million subscribers. A huge amount of people.
That's a lot of people.
Concurrent people, right? They just recently announced that number is now 15. In less than a year, it went up by 50%. They bought Bethesda to make that number go up 10 times the amount. You know what I mean? Now, they want Game Pass to be the Netflix of games. What is Netflix at the moment? Netflix churns out a whole bunch of B movies and B TV series because one of them will make it popular. Will be like Haunting a Hill House, I like to point out, because that one, all of a sudden everyone was talking about it. It was a low budget, but a good show. And now the next season's getting a whole bunch more. That's how it works. Yeah. Netflix turns out a bunch of shit. I watched a Netflix original movie a couple weeks ago called One Bedroom. It was typed 1BR, like an apartment listing.
I saw that. I didn't watch it.
Terrible movie. It's a Netflix movie. Microsoft does not care if they have God of War, Spider-Man, Last of Us quality exclusives, because if it's all going on to Game Pass, you all view it like it's just one giant good deal anyway.
Quantity over quality. That's all. Like, they can't beat quality from PlayStation. They're like, well, we'll beat you in quantity.
And they will, and it will still be a good deal. Machine Games will probably get not a budget in money, but a budget in time, less than what they would like to make Wolfenstein 3. You know what I mean? The next Wolfenstein game. Because Microsoft will be like, it doesn't need to be a 10 out of 10. It needs to be likable. Because people will be like, I'll download that and play it. And I'll tell one person I played this on Game Pass, will be like, oh, was it fun? Like, yeah, I mean, I didn't pay for it. Yeah, it was fun. You know what I mean? How many people watch shit on Netflix and they're like, I wouldn't watch it again, but I guess it was a good time. Yeah. You know what I mean? But yeah. Would you rent that movie? No. Would you pay for a low-budget Wolfenstein? Some bunch of people that would have played it on Game Pass. A bunch of people that would have played it on Game Pass as part of the subscription would say no. You know what I mean? But like if God of War 2018 was on Game Pass, you know what I mean? And it is on PlayStation now, I think.
Yeah, it is.
It would be a different story because it's just a huge leap in quality, and that is a 10 out of 10 game, and people are like, no, you need it. They only need a couple of those, you know? A couple, like, gigantic successes. They need an Arrested Development purchase, you know? They need this big movie. They need this. They need that. And they need Adam Sandler. Who's going to be the Adam Sandler of Game Pass? Is it Todd Howard? No.
It should.
What's Todd Howard's Uncut Gems going to be?
I don't know. I can't even think of anything. It's so stupid.
What would that be? Huh? He's trying to make the biggest world ever, and it's such like a stressful ride.
And he says in an interview, he's like, if no one buys this game, if this doesn't win Game of the Year, I'm making Fallout 76 again.
76 again. Oh my god!
And everyone's like, "Fuck, we gotta play this. We can't go through that again."
If Starfield doesn't make $10 billion, you're getting Fallout 76 Launch Day Edition.
You're getting some DLC, and it ain't gonna be good.
It ain't gonna be. We're gonna take the NPCs away again.
Oh, and we're wiping everything, so all the stuff you did is gone.
Remember when that game was supposed to be like Rust but in Fallout, and everyone was like, that's going to be great, and then they found out no one wanted to hurt each other. They just wanted to play Fallout with their friends, and the game couldn't even do that for them. Like, literally, I saw, like, it was headlines like, no one actually hurts each other in this game because they don't want to. They just want to fucking play Fallout together, and they can't.
It's wild.
Yeah. This is scary. You and I talked a bit earlier about, like, what's Sony's response going to be, or, like, ooh, who could Microsoft buy next? I don't know. Why don't you retell me your thoughts on that whole idea? I think listeners already know what you're about to say, but why don't you tell us?
It's bad. We shouldn't be like, yes, I think on like a basic gamer level, like this is exciting, cool, like it's fun, whatever. But in the day, like I'm not excited about this because for all the reasons I said earlier, you know, we have workers' rights issues into this, with layoffs, even maybe more crunch, those kind of things, and then creative differences, all that stuff. And then you have the money thing, you know, with all that, like this is all just money. What are they going to do with the IP? It could be shit. You know what I mean? But in the days, I'm getting worried that like this is just another one in the bucket. And soon enough, we're going to come down to the three studios, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft owning everything, and like everyone jokes about the console wars, but it's gonna turn into the corporation wars, where you're like, oh, I'm a fucking Sony fan, dude. Like, we got Last of Us, we got God of War, and then Xbox come in, we're like, well, we got the quantity. You know, we're like the Russians in World War II. We have so many tanks. You know, like
at the very least, all three companies try to win on different fronts. You know, at least they're not literally doing the same thing, but. Yeah, to piggyback off your point, I think it was yesterday or today, as of the day of this recording, CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, said he wants to buy more game companies.
No.
He's looking into doing that.
We shouldn't be cheering for that. But what's funny is, like, at least on my Twitter feed, is I generally follow gaming stuff with a mix of politics and sports. But for the most part is gaming. And, like, everyone was like, yeah, dude, they're going to, like, with Bethesda, they're like, yes, we're going to get Fallout New Vegas 2 or whatever, And then we saw a tweet that we saw earlier before we started recording where someone was like, buy Sega. And like, that's kind of like, I think our main point is like, can Sonic be just a little moving or a little pawn for Microsoft in the future? Or
Those
Sony?
Games already have a low budget because Sega doesn't care. Microsoft will care even less.
Yeah. If anything,
Sega bought Atlas a couple years ago. They're doing the same shit. It's just a giant fish eating a fish that already ate another fish.
Yeah, and like my concern is like, if y'all love Sonic so much but love video games, you should be a little concerned that someone like Sonic could disappear because Microsoft eats it up, Sony eats it up, Nintendo eats it up, and is like, sorry, Sonic isn't selling. Sorry. Mario is, though.
Right.
God of War is, though. Halo
Which
is,
is just
though.
like Sonic. But yes, yeah, I understand.
You know what I mean? Like, and then like they'll be like, maybe they'll churn out one or two Sonic games that do all right. You know, even if like we get the next best Sonic game ever, let's say it only gets like 5 million copies, and you know, let's say Microsoft buys it, and then they're like, well, 5 million isn't going to cut it. We rather you work on Halo Reach 2 or something. You know what I mean? I don't know why I love Halo Reach. I've never played. Every time I think of Halo, I think of Halo Reach. But like that is my concern. That is my biggest concern. That like we're cheering for this, and this is just telling the companies, "Hey, this is okay," and we'll just keep buying it.
Right.
I'm not telling everyone to stop buying everything because I'm still gonna. I want to buy the PS5 in the Xbox One or Xbox Series S or whatever. I get it. But at the end of the day, we have to be thinking about these things in the consequences of our consumption, you know, and I'm not saying it's our fault, and I'm not saying like stop buying everything, but we should, I think, be vocal, be like, hey, what are you doing to stop layoffs? I think what are you doing to stop creative differences or all that stuff?
I think we've been so conditioned as a society in the past 40 years, 50 years, that the world has a lot of problems, and we need to take personal responsibility to ensure your part. You need to recycle, Devin. I mean, like, recycle, right? But everyone in this country's effort of recycling is a drop in the bucket to the amount of waste that giant corporations make. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like this weird, like, we all needed to do our part kind of mentality of how we look at problems like this, when actually it is gigantic corporations with all this money that if they change, if you know what I mean, one of those companies changes, that is a gigantic significant change, more than what the collective can do. You know what I mean? More than what you and I can do. So I agree with you. It shouldn't be just like, don't buy them. Don't buy this stuff. Don't, like, you know what I mean? Or like, don't, but instead it should just be understanding of what's going on and educate people so that, you know, like, hey, like if our response is just to, you know, all these companies buying each other of like, oh man, I just not going to buy a Microsoft thing or whatever. Instead, it should just be, we actually need to be talking out loud vocally about, hey, how Microsoft is destroying this industry because it's buying everything. Or if it was Sony doesn't have the money to do it. But, you know. The
thing is, like you said, if me and you both, let's say, stop buying video games altogether, just never again. Like, we're just like, done. Nope. You know, this is enough. Enough is enough. We're done. It's not gonna, like, no, nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna change. You can have 1 million people be like, I'm done. We're not buying video games anymore. That still probably wouldn't be enough. And like the thing is, with demanding systemic changes, yes, like there is a little impact we can make collectively, but it isn't going to be on one person. Like, that's the thing with climate change is, yes, if we all recycled, if we all stopped eating meat, let's say everyone goes vegan, that doesn't even, it's not even close to the amount of CO2 and methane and all that.
Right.
That
drop of the bucket.
That like Amazon does every day.
Right.
Or all the,
like, you have the personal pride of, like, not supporting, you know, a monopoly, but, like, that doesn't mean anything. Talk to your senators. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, if anything, vote, and vote, especially in local elections and, you know, all that. Like, that's...
I do want to... I'm sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
I want to say this, though, before we start sounding like angry gamers on YouTube.
Yeah.
This is nothing compared to systemic problems, including the racism in this country.
Yes,
you know what I mean. All that stuff.
This
is not on the same level at all. This is about entertainment products and children, and we're all man babies. So like,
let's make that clear.
Although it does feed into capitalism and the problems there, which is serious. But like,
yes,
I just noticed we're starting to really sound like fucking
and I want to make that clear. Like at the end of the day,
so.
like I care more about, like you said, ending systemic racism and police brutality as opposed to
making sure Sonic gets a budget.
Sonic, like if it takes Sonic being deleted off the face of this earth to end racism, then yes, sorry, we're ending this show. I'm gonna make that choice on behalf of everybody. You're welcome. But yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's just something we need to be aware of, and I guess I'll say that everyone who's on my Twitter timeline who's like into the gaming industry, like I'm glad you're excited and everything, but at the same time I think there's gotta be a little pressure on them as well to be like more critical of this. 'Cause like I looked up some articles about the purchase, and like one I found here by PC Gamer, you know, talks about like how will they stick to their own games, will they collaborate, how hands-on will Microsoft be, how this will affect console exclusivity, and one of them's like, is PC gaming on it, like, and like that's all cool like market stuff, but like no one's talking about
well, because it's fun.
Are we okay with
about
owning one thing? And I get, like you said, it's fun talk, but this kind of goes with like at some point we have to start asking that question: when is enough enough? If Microsoft stops now, is it okay? If Microsoft buys, like
according to
50
Satya
more
Nadella,
studios,
it's not okay because he wants to buy more. You know, it's not going to stop with Bethesda. We did a couple cursory searches on the internet, which are probably not completely accurate, but just a ballpark. Sega, how much is Sega's value? 1.3 billion. You know what I mean? Konami was 3.4 billion.
No, sorry,
something like
Sega
that.
is 1.45 billion to 1.8. Maybe let's round it up to 3 though. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Well, that would actually be 2.
No, I'm saying you're right, but I know what you mean. Like, let's say it was 3, like you said.
Yeah, let's say it's more than that because it's probably not 100% accurate. You know, and obviously Sega's going to value themselves more than what they are because they want, you know, to get a good deal. Let's say Microsoft approaches them or Amazon approaches them, or Google. You know, because Amazon very good, Google, you know what I mean? Google needs, I mean, we fucking forget about Google Stadia all the time, but like I can see Google buying one of those too. Google's even worse than Microsoft in that sense. Like they could, boom, gone. Okay, so what are other giant publishers? Capcom, how much are they? Probably just maybe more than Sega. I would say another $500 million on there. Capcom's eaten up. Konami, which is mostly gym equipment and shit in Japan at this point, 3.5, eaten up. These are all less than what Bethesda valued themselves at. And Bethesda doesn't even really make all that much stuff. You know what I mean? Like, the other 3 companies I just mentioned, they don't make live service games. They don't make Call of Duty numbers, which isn't a live service, but actually kind of is now with Warzone. Ubisoft, that's basically all they make. EA, all of their sports stuff is basically that too, and they have other, you know, hands in the fruit basket there with Anthem. Is that still getting reworked? We bought that a year ago.
I saw it was $2 at GameStop. We bought it for $5.
We fucking lost out. We haven't even played it yet. You know what I mean? Those companies are always gonna probably stay independent unless they merge because they can make money forever off of a subscription or, you know, something like that. But like these companies that don't make these live service games, Monster Hunter World is probably the closest Capcom ever had to something like that, and it's not even close because they had one expansion, that was it, one thing to buy, and that was it. You know, scoop them up for however much, I think $2.5 billion maybe, whatever. They buy them up, boom, that's gone. So then like all of these are smaller than Bethesda in that money amount. Then it's literally just going to be Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, Activision, EA, Ubisoft. And Epic Games.
I forget about Epic
Disney,
Games.
I guess.
And Valve. But like, no, I guess Valve doesn't really. They have the marketplace. So I guess they're kind of different going on over there.
They're so weird. I know they wanted, like, they tried to rebrand themselves last year of like, hey, we have a Valve Game Studios. You know, like we make games again. Here's a Half-Life. Only took us 13 years, and we had to buy another company to make that.
There you go. They didn't even want to.
They bought Campo Santo.
I'm sure they have the money to like make their own team. But
that's actually a good example because
they just bought
Campo Santo
else.
Campo Santo made a great. Campo Santo was founded by people that left Telltale Games after making The Walking Dead Season 1. Some of the main people from that team left and made their own indie studio called Campo Santo. And they made a first-person narrative adventure kind of game called Firewatch, which is great. I recommend it. It's a short, one sitting. It's about a dude whose wife had early onset dementia, and he decides to, after she goes to live with her parents or the hospital or whatever, he volunteers to be a Firewatch person, and it's just then a story happens, right? Made this beautiful game. It's awesome. Ali Moss did the art. It's amazing. A few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 now, at the Game Awards, Jeff Keighley's the Game Awards, they announced their next game, in the Valley of the Gods, I believe it's called, and it looks like an evolution on that idea. It's still a first-person adventure thing, but there's another person with you, and it looks like this awesome story, like you're an Egyptian explorer's or archaeologist's like assistant. You're going through this new temple or something like that. Then Valve bought them. That game is now indefinitely on ice because they wanted them to make a Half-Life game, which, yes, it is awesome to get a new Half-Life game. And, yes, that game got really good reviews, and I will never play that because it's on a $2,000 VR setup. $4,000 if you include the PC and all this shit,
Yeah.
Like, that game is gone. That's going to happen with Bethesda to a degree. Yes, we know Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 are happening, and yes, Todd Howard's crew has more sway than Machine Games does. But again, Tango, I guarantee, it's not like, oh, we are only focused on one game period, and then as soon as that game is shipped, now we start brainstorming. No, these companies already know what they're going to make. You know what I mean? As soon as they started development on God of War 2, they already know what they're thinking about making next. You know what I mean? They're already thinking about it, How many of these game pitches have happened that we've never heard of because they're not public yet, because they haven't even begun work on? How many ideas are floating around there? How many games have started, and since they're not public, they can be Microsoft games? Like, they're going to honor the whole, every game that we already announced or making. I don't know if Elder Scrolls 6 counts because they announced that game 3 games in advance. But, like, Starfield is still going to come to PS5. Obviously, the games that are coming out in the next 2 years are still going to come to PS5. Those are all going to happen. But how many pitches have we not heard about that have started and now are, like, getting defunded, getting put on ice?
Yeah.
Because they're pulling the Half-Life Alyx on it, It's like, no, we need... Halo could be a lot bigger. It needs a broader universe of game types. Halo Wars 2 sold okay, but it really was like a Game Pass game. We need a Halo game that's like BioShock, Arcane, make one. I know I mentioned that earlier, but like that's a no-brainer type of thing. You're an engineer on this ship, and blah blah blah, and it's Dead Space 3 or something. I don't know. That's gonna happen because Microsoft first and foremost is thinking about its brands.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the end goal of this, like we said, is going to be like 3 or 4 mega corporations, $1 trillion worth each, are going to own everything, and it's going to be. I'm not saying it's going to happen 10 years from now. I'm not saying it's going to happen maybe even 50 years from now. But I think the end goal for all of this is it's going to end with, like I said, 3 or 4 corporations are going to end or have everything, and then, if you want to make a video game, you're going to have to go through them. That's what I'm worried about, is that it's going to be like, you want to be an indie video gamer, video game developer. Yeah. Well, we have this cool program you can do. If not, you're by yourself, but good luck getting on our marketplace because that's a X amount of fee. Like that's the stuff they can start controlling the market. They already do. Then. Epic controls the market. Steam controls the market. At least on the PC side, for the most part. You know what I mean? I'm saying I'm worried that all these corporations are going to own it. Yeah. They're going to own everything, and then they have their own marketplace. And if you want to get on their marketplace, you're going to have to pay a certain amount of money. And guess who can afford that? Rich people.
We joked last week in a weird tangent when we were talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 1 what if Apple lost the Epic lawsuit, and as a joke we suggested all Apple purchases now have to be made in V-Bucks. This is that dystopian type of thing where it's like, it's not literally that goofy idea of V-Bucks, but like
credits.
they all have their own currencies again. You know what I mean? Like, oh yes, you need to be an Amazon Prime member to actually use any of this at all. And now you need Amazon, whatever they would call their Microsoft points make a return. $10 is 800 points again. It's going to get confusing as hell. You know what I mean? Like, again, this is a very obvious hand wringing that we're doing that is probably over exaggerated. And again, I want to stress that we don't want to become the just angry neckbeard gamers. I don't have a beard. You don't have a beard. We don't want to become those people. But I will say what you were just talking about of like, they buy. The big thing is that you're not outright saying is that they'll get away with it all.
We'll be cheering them
on. The main reason why they will get away with it all is because of how our legal system works. If one person does it, it means that now you have an opening. They can't outright tell you no because your lawyer can say someone else did it. Who's that other person, Devin? Who's the other giant corporation that buys and buys and buys, that changes copyright laws because, God forbid, Mickey Mouse goes public domain. Original art of Mickey Mouse. Not Mickey Mouse's, you know what I mean? Disney has gotten away with a lot more than what we're saying. Therefore, they already have someone worse than them. It's just we're all climbing the same ladder together. Disney's up higher, and they're going to take all the brunt. But Mickey Mouse gets away with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and how I look at the future, like I'm saying, like the year's 2100, right? Climate change has decimated.
We don't even call
world.
it that anymore. It's illegal.
Yeah. Like everyone thinks like, oh, Blade Runner, that's what it's going to look like. Cyberpunk, it's going to look like that, right? I think it's going to be like that, but not as cool. All right? Like I'm not going to be in a cool like jacket in like some nice shades and I'm like, oh, I have a mechanical arm. No, it's just going to be all of us slaving away working at these corporations because that's the only place we can work. And it's going to be them living on the moon.
Just today.
Elon Musk Jr. or whatever this fucking kid's name is going to be on the moon and be like, yes, I own United States. And like they're under
Epic
Tesla or whatever it is. You know, yeah.
Yes, unfortunately, my father, Elon Musk, could not be here today because, as we all know, 30 years ago, he exploded by trying to put the pig brain chip in his own brain, and it killed him. But he was such a goofy guy. Oh.
Yeah, like it'll be stuff like that. Like I think of like 1984, but like less. If anything, I think more like 1984, but like instead of a government, it's just a corporation. That's what I'm afraid of. That's how I see it.
To get political again, what is probably the biggest laughing stock politically that everyone makes fun of unless you're already in the party is the Libertarian Party. They absolutely hate the idea of the government doing anything to them at all, but are more than willing to let Walmart do it instead, to let Amazon do it instead. You know what I mean? Like, as long as it's not the government, step on me all you want. I mean, that's the mentality we kind of have. You know what I mean? Because there is I don't have to support Amazon, but I'm obligated to support my country because of taxes. That's kind of how these people kind of think of their freedoms, you know what I mean? There is no freedom in communist Russia, and that's the future. But it's the future I want. But I forgot where I was fucking going with this.
No, like.
What would Todd Howard's Uncut Gems be?
So I'm saying there's going to be a lot of people who are just going to be okay with it, and then it's going to be too late. If anything, you could argue it already is too late because there's already been pushes to break up these companies, and it doesn't happen. There's been pushes to break up these big banks. It doesn't happen. There's been pushes to change the stock market. It doesn't happen. So, like, yeah, I think the gaming
it's all money.
Atmosphere, the gaming void that we're talking about is just one part of the bigger, like we said earlier, there's bigger systemic issues, but this is a small part of it, and it goes all the way up to, like you said, Walmart. It goes to where we're buying goods, housing, gas, electric, all those things are ISPs. It's everywhere. Like, it's just slowly happening, and we're just kind of letting it happen. And like that's what I'm saying. I think this is just another example of something we need to pay attention to and talk about out loud before maybe, like I said, it could be too late, but hopefully not.
The big reason why it is such a big deal to Amazon and Google and obviously Microsoft because they own Xbox, but like Amazon and Google is because the sheer amount of profit gained in the video game industry keeps going up and up and up. at rates that are much higher than the film industry, than record labels in terms of music. Like, this is currently a hot industry to make money off of. If you're a giant corporation, if you can dump $7.5 billion in 10 years, you will at least make 15 back. Microsoft will at least make $15 billion in 10 years. And this is a chump change, you know what I mean? Like, if you can make an investment that lasts at least 10 years, where you jump, and a lot of people do this, you know, you put a significant amount of your savings in for a 10-year investment, and you walk away with more money, a giant corporation is going to do the exact same thing, right? That's the corporations or people is a thing people like to joke about, but oftentimes, like, it's the same rules apply in some of these cases. You know what I mean? Like, Microsoft is going to make a shit ton of money off of this, and yes, they will still have Xbox. Amazon is going to do something similar, I guarantee it. They already kind of tried a couple times. Google is trying their hand with Google Stadia. Maybe they'll fucking buy Sega. I want to bring up Sega again because we're a Sonic podcast. Maybe they'll buy Sega, and it will fucking fail. And then they sell off Sega, and Sega is now fucked. You know what I mean? And, like, yes, boohoo Sega, giant corporation, but then, like, all those people don't have jobs. Artists don't own their work in any form of, you know what I mean? They're not even attached to the thing that does own the work, you know what I mean? But it's like, there's more often than not in history, there's film rights, music rights, game rights even, computer program rights that no one knows who owns what because no one was paying attention, and now it's gone. You know what I mean? When corporations buy each other and they shuffle around and positions are changed, and, you know, contracts are written in hand and then done on computer and done over this, things get muddled up and then no one wants to touch it, and then it gets lost forever, let alone physical things being destroyed, whether through fires or, like, we need room. No one cares about the Division 2. It's the year 2300.
Yeah.
Get rid of the store, you know what I mean? Like, this stuff happens, and, like, I don't know, like, again, this is a weird dichotomy of art and business. And so, like, I like to look at the artistic side because that is a far more altruistic side of things in this industry. I think it's the more fun part of, like, what's this game going to be like, is how fun is it? Like, fun is art, you know. That's when I complain about this stuff too. Obviously the capitalism part hurts. Like, video games is not the most important part of the capitalism. So my angle through this is also, like, they're gonna, like, the fun is being destroyed. The art is being destroyed through this as well. So
yeah.
But I think we should move on to the most artistic thing that we can contribute in this podcast. And that is what we always try to do at the end of a news episode of the Sonic Movie Show, a weekly podcast, is continue and read another chapter of Sonic the Hedgehog, the official movie novelization, now a major motion picture again, because it's coming back in theaters. Last week, no, it wasn't last week, it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we were at Chapter 9. We are now on Chapter 10 of 16 plus an epilogue.
So if you have
short-ass chapters,
you can follow along.
I guess. As always, I am the narrator, and Devin is all of the voices and their internal monologues. Why don't we start, Devin? Are you ready?
Let's do it. Let's go through this train wreck again. It's like a train wreck we know is coming every time. We just keep getting on board.
Oh, God, I want to say Chapter 10 in Todd Howard's voice, but I can't really.
I don't know what
his voice.
I don't even know what he really sounds like now that I think about it. Like, I know what he sounds like, but I don't.
Everyone was like, "Oh man, he said fuck in the first Bethesda E3 conference. He's cool." I'm like, yeah, he's a cool, likable guy. I'm sure he's yelled at a lot of people and gotten them fired, but it's the way it works. Hideo Kojima guarantee has done the same thing. None of these people are pure and holy. Not even Miyamoto. Chapter 10. In Fallout 76. Sonic stared out the window at the morning sunlight. They'd dropped behind a billboard to grab a few hours of sleep, and now Donut Lord was winding his way towards San Francisco on a path that Sonic deemed too slow, too crooked, too dull.
Come on, Super Cop,
he said as he made his hand like an airplane out the window.
I thought you were leaning toward being the action-adventure type. Floor it! Laying low, dude. That Dr. Robotnik guy seems like he has more than a few ways to track us down,
Tom said.
Let's hope that the satellites don't have us pegged already, and that Mandy got my messages saying my cell phone was dead. Of course, it's probably lying in the ruins of our kitchen after those drones went to town. Why do you care if Robotnik torched your place?
Sonic said.
You're leaving Green Hills anyways, the best place in the world, and you're selling out some crazy land of You're selling out for some crazy land of glass sky daggers covered in smog because of forest fires. Anyways,
They just needed to know that it was a boy.
I'm so tired that it took me a half second to realize what you said. Do you really know how small Green Hills is?
Tom asked.
Talk about trying to live your life before it's all gone. I can't do that back home. It's not small. There are literally hundreds of people and like 3 times as many chill animals and one really rude beaver named Lucius. Really? No, dude, I'm the only one who can talk.
Sonic shook his head.
You're not making any sense. You come from a great town with great people, and by my count, 0 evil warlords are trying to kill everyone and steal their inexplicable speed energies. That's what it's like when I come from, and I can tell you, that's only a crazy person would want to leave a place like Green Hills. Besides, what could possibly be more important than protecting the people you care about? Oh, please. I clean out their gutters. I jumpstart their cars in winter. They can call anybody to do that.
Said Tom.
Sure.
Said Sonic.
They can call anybody. But they don't. They call you.
Before Tom could respond, the sound of shattering glass rang out. A grappling hook broke through their back window and buried itself in the dashboard. Sonic spun around to see a spinning egg-shaped drone on the other end.
Yahtzee.
Does he say that in the movie?
I don't think so.
Called a familiar voice from a speaker on the drone, Robotnik. This creep was turning out to be, well, a creep.
We've got incoming.
Sonic yelled.
I can bust Robotnik's machine, no problem. Just drive the car. I'll take care of this, the way you used to take care of Green Hills.
As soon as... the shade, man. As soon as... I'm fumbling over this fucking sentence. As soon as Sonic unbuckled, Donut Lord yanked him back down on the seat.
This time we do it my way,
he said, picking up a tire iron from behind the seat.
Here, take the wheel and keep it steady. I put it in cruise control. Oh, I thought that was weird. Okay, I put it in cruise control.
Tom climbed out the back window, breaking up the rest of the jagged glass as he went. He held firmly to the roof as the drone reeled itself close. Tom swung the iron forcefully at the drone's eye, and the machine spun hard to the left, pulling the car with it. Sonic responded by jerking the steering wheel back and forth. He ignored the brakes. As the truck swerved left and right across the empty country highway, he saw Tom lurch in the rearview mirror.
Hold steady,
the Donut Lord called out.
Who the heck taught you how to drive? Nobody,
Sonic said with a laugh.
I have absolutely zero clue what I'm doing.
With another wild swing, God, the way you say it, it sounds so B-movie humor, and that's exactly what the trailers kind of made the movie seem like. So I'm glad you're doing that.
To differentiate between Donut Lord and Sonic. It's hard.
With another wild swing, fucking this book. With another wild swing, Tom connected with the drone, popping the cable loose as the front of it shattered into the sparking pieces.
Mr. Wachowski, you don't have to be a genius to know how supremely stupid that was. Wait, no, those were hold up, let me redo that one. Why? What are you going? God damn it! I hate fucking books.
Sonic wouldn't say Mr. Wachowski.
Mr. Wachowski, you don't have to be a genius to know how supremely stupid that was.
Called Robotnik's now garbled voice, as the initial drone sputtered out of commission. As the initial drone sputtered out of commission, a fleet of little baby bots buzzed to life. They swarmed all around Tom and into the truck, circling Sonic's head. The hedgehog... it says Sonic's head, the hedgehog. It's like, fuck that, no. I'm going to say Sonic the Hedgehog. They circled around Sonic's head. The hedgehog swatted at them, and the car careened across lanes. The driver's side mirror exploded as the truck grazed the guardrail.
I'm taking the captain's chair back,
said Tom as he swung into the driver's seat and pushed Sonic aside.
Good,
so the hedgehog said.
Because I see where the problem is, and I'm gonna fix it.
Like a trank dart, Sonic blasted off the back of the truck. He hit the highway with his legs pumping as fast as he could and spun into a ball of pure velocity. Nearly 400 yards back, an armored van was chugging along. It had to be Robotnik's mobile lab. Sonic struck the center of the van's hood as hard as he could, and with a crunch of the fiberglass, it collapsed, and the vehicle spun off-road.
A real bullseye at last.
Sonic cried, skidding to a stop and to make sure the van stayed down.
Do you think the egg drone was the last of my Botnick's hedgehog?
Yowled a megaphone voice. The top of the van split open and launched a spider-like dune buggy drone onto the road. It spun out its wheels with a screech and was soon at Sonic's doorstep.
Tech, this ugly is more like Badnick's,
shouted Sonic and bolted back to the pickup. And
dun,
that, my friends,
dun.
was Chapter 10 of Sonic the Hedgehog, the official
Dude,
movie novelization.
I wonder what happens next.
I bet it's the rest of the scene. God, I hate doing this. Honest to God. But we committed.
We
We're
do it for
almost done.
you, listener.
Yeah, okay.
We
I
do
don't
it to
for
fight
you.
the mega corporations.
Yes, by stealing their book. I paid for the book on Amazon.com. A lovely service. And I'm not saying that just because we're on Amazon Podcast now.
Yeah, we're gonna be taking out. We criticize mega corporations. We're gonna get an email that says, "Hey, you're no longer on Audible. Sorry."
Just like Amazon Podcasts, we're also on a bunch of other places. As I mentioned at the top of the show, like Spotify and Apple Podcast. We also have a YouTube channel, which is sometimes slightly different than the podcast feed here, but it's a good place to talk to us directly. Another great way to talk to us directly, and the preferred way, is through Twitter. The show can be reached at Sonic Movie Show. I, Ethan, am on Twitter at Ethan Absolutely. Devin is on Twitter at Capitalist Underlord 6969. Capital X Underlord.
I gotta see if that's taken. That's
He's on Twitter at CURSONA YouTube. And let us know what you think about, I guess, the Xbox shit. Honest to God, I don't really know. I've seen so many opinions, I don't really care anymore. It's shit sucks. See ya.
I got a job in the
I'm
valley, but
Sonic.
today